For this video, we have more practice working with I and working with complex numbers. So we're going to take a look at our first example. I'll do my work over here. This is a complex number where it has a real and imaginary part and it is squared. So because it is squared, I'm going to write it twice. That is the meaning of squared. And in order to complete the multiplication process, I'm going to use the acronym FOIL so that I multiply the parts together when I do the distributive property. So I multiply the first numbers together. Both are real numbers. 8 times 8 is 64. Multiply the outer two numbers together. And so here we have a real and a imaginary part. And so 8 times 7 is 56, and we keep the I. Then we do the inner two numbers. Again, we get 56. We keep the I. And we do the last two numbers, and we multiply. 7 times 7 is 49. I times I is I squared. So now we have some simplifying to do. So we get 64 plus, adding these two like terms, 112i. And we have simplifying to do here as well. The I squared, since we know I equals the square root of -1, I squared is going to equal -1. So this would be 49 times -1. And so we have 64 plus 112i, doing the multiplication, minus 49. The 64 and the -49 are both real numbers, and so we do want to add them together. And so we get 15 plus 112i as our answer. Woo! Let me see if I can erase that. There we go. Trying to circle it. This format is super important. When we talk about a complex number, it is supposed to have the format of A plus BI. So we put the real number part first, and then we put the coefficient and then the I as if it were a variable, even though it's not. It's the square root of -1. All right, so let's take a look at number 7. This one, we notice it is subtraction. And so as I look to do this, I want to combine like terms just as if I were a variable. So 1 subtract 1 is 0. And then here we would have -9 subtract a -12. And these both have I with them. Two negatives we know make a positive, so really we have 0 minus 9i plus 12i. So we combine these, we have 0 plus 3i. That's its complex format, and we can write that as just a pure imaginary number, 3i, as the answer. There is nothing as far as a real part to that. Our last example here again is multiplication. And so again, we're going to go through the FOIL process to keep track of everything with the distributive property. I distribute this, multiplying the real numbers, so 2 times -2 is -4. I distribute to this one, so 2 times I is 2i. Then I distribute the second one, so these end up being my inner terms, so 7 times -2 is -14, and there is an I. And multiplying here as well, we have plus 7i squared. So once again, we are going to replace the I squared with its value of -1, and I can also combine like terms right here. So -4 minus 12i from combining like terms plus 7 times a -1. Simplifying, that'd be -4 minus 12i minus 7. Then I have a real number here and a real number here, so I want to put them together. And so I have -11 minus 12i. And I have that in the correct format where I have the real number first and the imaginary part of that complex number second.